Hey y'all, it is a gorgeous evening here in Tennessee. I'm literally outside in a tank top, and that means spring is right around the corner. I am so excited. I have finally gone through and picked out all of the seeds that I wanted to grow this year. With this beautiful weather, I think it's the perfect time to actually sit down and start planning a new season of abundance. So I am gonna go through this garden and brainstorm what I am going to grow this year. Although there are gonna be some pretty big changes, and that's gonna shift the possibilities. First and foremost, I'm gonna get a brand new greenhouse this week, and I can't wait to build it. But that means it's gonna take up more room in the garden, because I think it's gonna have to go somewhere in here, because I want it central to the actual growing space. And two, that means I'm gonna have a protected space to be able to grow stuff in the heart of the garden. So that means I can grow more things. And two, I am gonna be getting some new beds as well. So that's gonna shift what I'm gonna be able to grow within the space as well. I am so excited. I am so ready. Let's take a quick look around the garden and start brainstorming. The garden really isn't in her glory right now, but this is really the ideal way to see the structure of your garden and understand how much space you have to work with, especially when it comes to brainstorming. Something else I definitely have to be conscious of is the perennials that I have planted in the garden. Over the past few years when I've been making my garden plans, I always forget about my perennials, but not this year. I definitely got to make note of who is still in here ready to grow for a new season. For example, here I have this true hyssop. She might look dead, but she is definitely not. She already has new growth coming in. We still have quite a few frosts predicted for the season, so who knows what's going to happen to her. But perennials, essentially, they die back in the winter, but their root system, the actual core of the plant, is still very much alive. Probably going to cut her back significantly, but I love her. She gives us beautiful, beautiful purple flowers. Pollinators love her. She's a wonderful herb and medicinal. I don't see her going anywhere. We also have a fig here. Figs aren't really known for coming back in Tennessee. And I should have mulched her before we got the really cold weather, but I forgot because depression. But hopefully she makes a comeback. That would be wonderful. We also have sorrel, which is an amazing, amazing leafy green / herb. She comes back every single year. She's a tough one. If you want an easy plant to grow that will give you abundance year after year, sorrel is definitely a wonderful plant to start with. So yeah, definitely got to make note of all the perennials we have growing. Another really good one is our kiwi. Oh my God. The remains of Bertha. She's so crispy. But we have kiwi growing. We have a hardy kiwi. She is perennial. She grows back every single year, although she's never given us fruit or flowers. I'm going to give her this year. I'm going to give her this season. If she does not provide for us this season, it might be time to give her the chop. There's no point in having a plant in the garden that's not going to provide us with the food that we need, especially if it's a perennial that takes up so much space. Over here is where I envision the greenhouse going. She is an 8x10 greenhouse. I think she's going to fit perfectly within this garden bed, but that's definitely going to change the entire landscape here. I have a lot of perennial flowering plants and grasses that will definitely need to be rehomed. Fortunately enough, we have a ton of other gardens all around the property, so we'll be able to find them a nice, comfortable home. But yeah, I think she's going to look glorious here. We have these 2 cattle panel arches back there that will definitely have to move as well, because I imagine it's probably going to extend a little bit beyond the back of this bed. I think my main focus is going to be getting the greenhouse in here. And then the other perennial flowering plants, we'll work with that as we go. The focus this season is absolutely about growing food. Excuse me, Chloe. Get about that bed, Miss Thing. What are you doing? You know you're not supposed to go in there. You know you're not supposed to go in there, sweet girl. You're not supposed to go in there. Yeah, but growing all of this abundance. So our focus is definitely making sure we have enough room to grow a ton of food in the garden this year. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's start planning. Hi, I know. I'm excited for new season too. I know, I'm excited too. All right, excuse me. I need the room. Oh, Bruno. There are so many things I want to grow this season. Like I said, I have gone through and decided, or at least gone in and chosen all of the things that I want to grow this season, and my little seed box is jam-packed. As much as I want to grow all of this, we definitely don't have enough room to grow every single thing in here. But I have a lot of things in mind that'll help me with my narrowing down process. So things that I absolutely want to prioritize in the garden this season are cabbages, sweet potato, squashes, peppers, beans, regular potatoes, and tons of herbs as well. So with that in mind, that is the perspective, that is the goal that I have set when planning for this year's garden. Before diving in, I want to remind you this is just a brainstorm. It's just me going in and basically daydreaming about where I want certain things to go where. This is going to give me a really good idea of where I'm going to allocate things and how much of each thing to start growing if I'm starting them indoors. We're still in the midst of winter. We're about a month and a half, 2 months out from planting cool crops in the garden. So now is a good time to plant those cool crops. So having this plan in place is really going to help me know what to start. So yeah, let's get into it. To actually make my garden plan, I literally just bring in a blueprint of my garden into my Microsoft Surface. I am using the Paint app, and I'm literally just going in and doodling and filling in spaces with the names of the plants that I'm going to be growing. Not the very specific varieties of things, but literally just like squash, sweet potato, peppers, just so I know this space is going to be reserved for that type of plant. Are you ready? Let's do it. Oh my gosh. 444. If that ain't a sign from the universe, I don't know what is. That's crazy that I'm starting the plan exactly at that time. Thanks, universe. Remember I said that I am going to be placing a brand new greenhouse in the garden, and I envision that going right over here. I think that's gonna be absolutely stunning there. So I'm gonna get rid of these little steps over here. Bye, baby. Time for something new. Ooh, bye-bye. Time for some new energy over here. I am so excited. It is such a cute little greenhouse. And that probably means we got to get rid of these trellises back here too. So much change. So much change. But that's okay. We love change. Change is essential to growth. All right. So that greenhouse is probably going to go, I see it kind of filling in. Boop. Boop, boop, boop. That's kind of the vibes it's given. Oh my God, she's gonna look, oop. She's gonna look gorgeous over here. Oh wait, actually, I'm not gonna fill that in like that because now that I actually am going to have a greenhouse here, oh my gosh, now that I'm actually going to have a greenhouse in this space here, I'm gonna have that protected area. And one of the biggest, I mean, obviously I'm gonna start seeds in here, but one of the biggest assets that this greenhouse is going to be able to provide is safety, is a barrier from the outside world. And I've spoken many times on how it's so important to invite the world in to your garden, but sometimes the pests get a little too out of control and they are hard to manage. For example, flea beetle. These flea beetles are the bane of my existence. But being able to grow them in a greenhouse, oh my God, the eggplants will be safe in this greenhouse. So I'm definitely gonna allocate, we're gonna grow some eggplants in here, baby. I don't exactly know what the inside is going to look like, but I know I wanna grow at least 4 different varieties of eggplant. So I'm just gonna put EP for eggplant. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. Ooh, also with this floral bed, it is looking a little different over here this season. It's not such a hard cutoff here. It's actually a little more rounded on the edge over here. So a little more like that. And I am growing a pear tree right here, but unfortunately, she's not giving what's supposed to be gave. She blooms really early, and we end up getting a frost, and all of the flowers end up getting frozen off. I even put a frost cloth over the tree when the frost was happening, but it wasn't enough to actually protect the flowers. They still ended up freezing off, which was quite tragic. And what little flowers did end up pollinating, the fruit got rotted out from a fungus. So I'm probably just gonna get rid of the pear tree, which is fine, which is okay, because that leaves, you know, possibility for lots of other things to grow. I do have some perennials growing over here, like a really gorgeous euphorbia. I'm just gonna write youth. I have an Echinacea tennesseeensis. We love her. We have some rudbeckia here, some black-eyed Susans. I'm just gonna write the rude. There is also a really giant Maximilian sunflower right here, but with that greenhouse coming into play, I need all the light I can get in this greenhouse, and she's given shade. She's given too much shade, so I'm probably gonna have to allocate her somewhere else. There is a really beautiful like red sage growing here right now, or red salvia that I want to keep for sure, but there's a lot of like grasses and stuff that were in this area that definitely need to be moved. But it's gonna be really fun and really gorgeous to plant around the greenhouse. Like I really want to nestle it in and have it feel like a true part of the garden. So I'm gonna have all this room here to play with, lots of room here to play with. I'm not going to plant anything here because I'm definitely keeping the cattle panel here to grow squash on this end, but it's definitely gonna grow over the arch and sprawl into this area here. So I'm not gonna plant anything there, knowing that's definitely what's going to happen. Similarly on this side. And then on this side, we have this beautiful grass, a panicum growing here. I believe it's Panicum Northwind. She's huge. She's quite large, but she gives a really beautiful height and texture to the garden. There's 3 plants there. I might have to move one of them. So if anything, she's gonna look a little more like this. I also have a gorgeous Gara growing here that I don't want to move, but it's really gonna come down to how close it's cutting into the greenhouse. Might have to trim that down a little bit. This whole area is just gonna transform. I have a red bee balm here that's huge. Although she wasn't really giving last year, she didn't come back as strong, probably because this panicum here was really overshading her. So that might shift this year. I do have a really beautiful blue flowering plant called a Tweedia that I absolutely adore. If she's not able to stay there, she gotta go somewhere because I need her in the garden. She's stunning. Now over here, I have, we have our gorgeous. I'm using red to kind of color coat flowering plants or like beneficial plants for the environment. I'm going to do this to color in an elderberry that I have growing here that's huge, because we do eat from her and we do make medicine from her berries, but her intention here is definitely to provide food for the wildlife. Food like berries so that the birds have something to eat so they don't feel inclined to eat our food. I want to give them their own food supply. We also have a gorgeous mulberry tree here that will definitely, I think she's gonna make a beautiful comeback this year. I hope she didn't die. I gotta check and see. We have a boysenberry here. I have milkweed growing around the base of this mulberry. And then I have like a huge patch of comfrey growing here as well. All of that is staying, so not much there is going to shift. The real areas that are going to transform are definitely around the greenhouse. So I'm excited to see how all that kind of manifests and come to fruition. A big thing to note is that we got rid of the trellises that were here. I don't know if I'm going to use them as arches again, but I have trellises now. So I think an interesting place to start would probably be this center bed right here, because I definitely want to grow tomatoes, but not as many tomatoes as I was last year. I grew 16 varieties of tomatoes last year. I had no business growing that many tomatoes. We do not be eating tomatoes like that. So I think I'm gonna reserve maybe a space for 6 to 8 varieties. And I think this center bed is gonna be it. So I'm gonna make a little like line here, and this is where that trellis is gonna go. And that's where our tomatoes will grow. So let's start with mapping out our tomatoes. So I think that would be beautiful. Boom, 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 boom. Again, this is a little messy. I mean, it's not like gonna be the most the most aesthetically pleasing, but the message is gonna come across, and I think that's the most important thing. This is really just brainstorming. 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 I'm just writing Tom for tomato. Yeah, I think they'll perform really well in this bed in particular because it gets so much sun, and tomatoes love the sun. They love it so much. But what's nice about having tomatoes on a trellis is you can train them on this trellis, so they're not necessarily going to sprawl out and take up too much space over here on this side of the bed. So that leaves room for plenty of companions. I think this would be a great space, like for example, intermingling some herbs. I feel like basil would do really well in these little pockets. Boom, 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 boom. We love our basil. I'm just gonna write B for basil. I'm using orange as like things for herbs and companion plants or repellent plants. And then we can go in and like over here on these edges we got space for peppers. So I'm just gonna write P for peppers. I think they'll do marvelous in here. Absolutely marvelous. So I'll do P, P, P. Beautiful. So, and I also think this is gonna be a good spot here to place some marigolds at the very edge of the bed. It might, like, this is just kind of how my brain works. It might look a little clumped together, but I have done these pairings before, and I know how much space they truly take up in a bed. I think they'll pair really nicely here, the marigolds at the edges of this bed. And as much room as it looks like this basil is going to take up here, there's definitely going to be pockets here of open space. It happens every year. I think that would be a good spot, maybe to like interplant some like something like carrots. Oof. So that middle bed is already jam-packed, but I really like how that's looking. Now a really big focus this year is definitely going to be our squash. We love our squash. We're definitely reserving this trellis, both of the arch trellises for squash. Now squash definitely need like a good 5 to 6 feet of space, so they need plenty of room. Realistically, I think there's only going to be room for one more squash alongside this this trellis that I have here to grow comfortably. But over here we got this panel, and then over here I think I can fit in 2 more comfortably, and they'll be growing alongside the trellis there. Where else can I allocate for some squash? Let them know this is the squash. This is our squash. Squashy squash. Oh, also our kiwis here. Don't forget about the kiwi. Don't forget about our kiwi. Gotta let them know. And yeah, the kiwi's kind of just like boop, 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 taking over all that space. On this side, definitely some pole beans. And those will take over the trellis there. And whatever else. I think another good place for squash would probably be this bed here. I'm always a little hesitant though to plant things like in, or at least squash in beds like that, because girl, they get so big. They need a lot more maintenance if they're growing on the ground like this, especially if you are in a controlled space like this. If I had huge allotments and the squash could just grow freely, that would be nice. But we don't. But I don't mind giving her a little bit of maintenance. I love pruning. It's one of my favorite things to do. All right, so we can grow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 varieties of squash, which I think will be very, very lovely. A nice suitable amount of squash. And now with the squash, I feel like some wonderful companions that we can like intermingle, have some growing in there. Definitely things like nasturtiums, Nasturtiums are really good at repelling squash bugs. So I'm just gonna write like N. Lavender is really wonderful too, and I already have some growing there, so I'm just gonna leave them. That's gorge. Definitely some nasturtiums over yonder. That would be gorgeous. I think another good companion for squash would probably be beans. We love our beans. Beans would do really lovely here as well. I'm just gonna write B for beans. I mean, I'm probably gonna label some other things B. We'll see how this progresses. But you know, as the beans or as the squash sprawls out, she stays pretty low to the ground, honestly. The beans will definitely grow taller, so I don't imagine them getting too overrun by the squash. If anything, to mitigate the squash overgrowing the beans, I'll just plant the beans first and then the squash. Another thing to note is that a lot of this is going to happen in succession. I am not planting all of this at the same time. For the cool crops, we're going to have a first round of cool crops go out, you know, broccoli, cabbages, carrots, leafy greens. Then 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm going to go in with another wave of cool crops, some more carrots, some more leafy greens. And then the first 2 weeks after that, the first wave of hot crops is going to go out, tomatoes, peppers, eggplant maybe. Those will already be growing in the greenhouse though. 2 weeks after that, we'll get our first wave of squashes out, and beans, and then after that, one more final wave of beans and squash, and so on. Lots more happening within that, but succession planting is really a wonderful thing to do. You'll be able to accomplish a lot. And also alleviate yourself of having to harvest everything at once. It's nice to break it up in that way. Wonderful. So speaking of succession and things going out in waves, let's go back to some cool crops like broccoli, Brussels sprouts. Oh my gosh, the Brussels sprouts. I think the Brussels sprouts would do really well in this long row because they're kind of tree-like. So this is giving a row of Brussels sprouts, don't you think? Yeah, I think 4 realistically would be able to fit there nice. Shit, maybe even 5. We're gonna do Brussels sprouts. BS. As in Brussels sprouts, okay? I think another wonderful companion would be more beans. I think beans would do really wonderful over yonder. Because one thing about brassicas is they are very heavy feeders. So to have a legume placed close by to cycle nitrogen back in while the Brussels or brassicas are growing would be really lovely. And then of course, we can interplant some more wonderful companion plants. Not really sure who would grow well with some Brussels sprouts. Probably some marigolds. I think marigolds would do really lovely. Or we have problems with what's her face? Cabbage moth here. Geranium would be a good one to have there too. So marigolds or geranium. We'll leave marigolds for now, but I'll have geraniums in mind. Now cabbages. We definitely need to allocate some space for cabbages. I think a really cool spot for cabbages would be here. Gotta change my color. I think a really cool space for cabbages would be over yonder. I definitely want to grow 2 giant cabbages. Gotta bring back our Audreys. Another more wonderful companions. Again, we really want to hype up the beans. More beans! Beans. Oh wait, actually, I don't know about doing beans over yonder. Hold up. Because we haven't even... There are a few other things going on here, and I want to make sure before we set beans up everywhere. Wait, but at least I know another thing with cabbages. I feel like this would be a really pretty spot for geraniums. So I'm gonna write G for geranium. That's a wonderful companion. And I actually think I have some perennial geranium already growing in this bed. Slay! What a natural fit! Now, one really cool thing about brassicas too is they are quite slow growing. They take their sweet ass time to grow. So it's nice to really utilize the space around them while they are growing. For things that grow quickly, like leafy greens and carrots. So I think around the cabbage, I definitely want to utilize the space here. Probably do some like little patches of, we'll write LG for leafy greens. And then maybe over here we'll do some carrots. Similarly over here, I really like to mirror things because it just kind of simplifies the whole process. Just like nice little patches of carrots. Oh look, more carrots. Gorgeous. Ooh, and I think this would be a good area here to do potatoes. Oh my god, I definitely want to do our potatoes. I'm going to do 2 beds of potatoes. I think that would do lovely here. And with the potato, really wonderful companions would be kale. I'm just going to write K for kale. Kale is lovely because, you know, kale actually doesn't have a very deep root system, and potatoes do be grown very deep in the ground, so they don't really disturb each other too much. So I think they would make good companions. Just make sure you space them accordingly, because overhead, kale can sprout out quite a bit, but if there's enough wiggle room in between, it shouldn't overshade the potatoes too much if you give them proper spacing. With potatoes, I think this would be a good place to put marigolds. Oh, we are really starting to fill up here. Slay. Ooh. Oh, oh, you know what else I need to make sure I got room for? Sweet potato. So I definitely, this bed is gonna be sweet potato. This is where I plan on putting some new raised beds, but I think this is gonna be a good sweet pot. I think this is gonna be a good space for it all. Sweet potato. I'm curious what a good companion plant for a sweet potato would be, because they're vining plants, but they don't necessarily like latch on the way squash does. They kind of just like sprawl loosely around. I feel like, and because sweet potato does take up a lot of nutrients in the soil, another opportunity for beans. You can never have too many beans, y'all. Beans is probably going to be my go-to survival crop because it is so jam-packed with nutrients. Now on the outer edge of the sweet potato, I feel like that would be an interesting place to experiment, maybe with some peppers as well, because at least some like tall growing peppers. Maybe now we can start mapping some peppers. I feel like here would be a good spot for some peppers. Definitely want to make sure I have enough room allocated for them. And we'll just mirror that over here. Slay! Now, a lot of the beans that I have laid out here will probably be bush beans so far. At least with the ones on the trellis, that's a pole bean. I need to make some room for some trellis beans. I do have some really nice arches in this bed over here. I think some pole beans would grow nicely here. We'll do maybe 2 different varieties. And then alongside the pole beans, we can do more peppers. Just kind of like intermingle them. Oh my gosh, we have so much space for peppers. I love that. Peppers are one of my favorite things to grow. They are so fun to grow. Beautiful. Oh, we're starting to lose light. It's gonna get dark here in a second. But we're actually almost done. We're actually almost done for at least this phase of the brainstorming. I think here we can do some more companions as well alongside the beans. Maybe some cosmos would be really pretty here, because alongside the beans, and there's taller varieties of cosmos, I think they would look really beautiful there next to the long sprawling beans. Gorgeous. Oh, I haven't even touched this bed. Over here, I'm literally looking right at it. I'm at the very edge of it. I'm literally sitting at that point of the garden, so I'm looking right at this. We have our true hyssop here. She's looking gorgeous. Hey! Be kind! The drama. And then we have some anise hyssop here. Just gonna write AH. Then here will be TH. Then we have our fig here. I hope you come back, girl. Oh, actually, she's here. And then here we have some sorrel. Oh my god, I haven't even allocated broccoli. Oh, well, here we go. How about we do our broccoli right here? Because I definitely want to grow a ton of broccoli, because we be eating a ton of broccoli, even over here. It's gonna be B again, but we know this is broccoli. I will know this is broccoli. Oh my god. Girl, she is filling up. And then here we can plant some more companions. That would look really, really cute. Something to know, I remember this is where I planted like a huge patch of poppies too. I'll just write P. Like, I know these poppies are about to pop off over here. Oh my god, this bed's gonna be lively. Now, I don't know what companions would look nice here. Maybe, I think we have nasturtiums, geraniums. We have marigolds here. Marigolds, 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 more nasturtiums. You know what? I might do more nasturtiums over here. Why not? They're a pretty ass plant. They're a really gorgeous plant. I think they would look really lovely there. Really, really lovely. Oh, wow. Okay, over here, I have hornbeams. A really big tree that grows here. Oh my god, I have a fig here. I hope you come back. I hope you're not dead. Oh, I have some herbs here. I have rosemary, some sage, some more sage, and I also have some evening primrose growing in the midst of that. So there's lots happening there. Oh my god, and the sunflowers. Oh, that would look so good. Especially, oh my god, it's gonna grow overhead. Oh my god. Okay, so something I didn't even friggin' put in here yet. We have the new chicken coop. So that's gonna be like here. That is here. Oh, what's happening? I don't know. That's gonna be here. And there's actually a fence that goes here. But there's a patch here of dirt. I think the sunflowers would go so well here next to the chicken coop. They'll create like really wonderful shade for the chickens, and then seeds for the chickens as well, and also food for more wildlife also. I think there's gonna be a bed that goes here. I know, maybe not there. That's like by the steps. Like here, there's gonna be a smaller bed, but I want to also grow loofah gourd, or not loofah gourd, birdhouse gourd. I'm just gonna write bird gourd, because I want to like make my own birdhouses. Wouldn't that be so cute? and those are viners, so they can like literally bloop, 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 bloop. They'll just like vine over the coop, and they'll have like they'll have gourds growing like through the ceiling and the roof. Oh my god, that's gonna look so good, and also create more shade. Now it is quite shady over here, but I wonder if there are things I can try growing on this side of the coop. Maybe some like butterfly pea would be nice. That'd be Gorgina. She's pretty, oh my god, she is so jam-packed already. But I want to grow more. Something, like I mentioned earlier, this isn't like the final garden plan. This is more so just a brainstorm, and it gives me an idea of how much room I need for certain things and where I want to place things. Oh, and also, there's gonna be a ton of onion too. I'm gonna use a blue color for like my onions, but since onions don't really take up that much room, I literally just like boop boop. Literally, I just like plop them around in any open space that I end up finding within the garden. I really like doing this because onions make a really good pest repellent plant, also for like things that dig and burrow and things in the soil as well. So they're just like a really great thing to like intermingle and drop throughout the garden. Same thing with garlic, but garlic is a cool crop or like a winter crop, so that's something you would start at like end of November here in Tennessee, but because of, you know, the election, I got pretty depressed and didn't really get out to the garden, which was quite tragic. But that's okay. It opened up a lot of beds this year, and we're really gonna fill up with a lot of wonderful food. But yeah, I think this is a really good little outline we have so far. A really good brainstorm. Now I'm gonna take this information and go in on Photoshop and make my final garden plan and choose the actual varieties. But now that I have this kind of information, abundance loading. Oh my gosh. We have our first brainstorm, our first blueprint of the garden plan for this season. As you can see, there's a lot of planning that goes into all of the abundance that happens in our gardens every single season. It happens in waves, it happens in phases, but every single phase is so important. I really hope this video just kind of inspired you to like get out there and get creative and brainstorm and daydream about all of the abundance that you want to grow in your garden. It is so much fun to just hope, to just manifest, to dream about more abundant days. And I think a garden is a really beautiful place to do that. I think the next logical step, we gotta wait for that greenhouse. Once the greenhouse comes, I'm gonna be able to actually build it. And then once that greenhouse is built, we can start seeds. And I can't wait, oh my God, to be playing with dirt again, to actually start growing and planning for the new year, growing for the new season. And then once those seeds are started and growing, it's gonna be time to like, get her ready for a new season of abundance. There's actually so much I want to do. There are so many plans. Oh my God. Stay tuned. So much is happening. So much is happening. And I'm really excited to be here on YouTube specifically and sharing the journey here. I really like this kind of energy. It really feels like I'm just talking to a friend. So I hope you're loving it. If you loved this video, please drop in abundance down in the comments below and let me know what you are excited to grow this season. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Bye.